Bloody camera. Wow. Oh, not many people on. Someone put in the comments, can you hear me? I've got two cameras here, look. Don't know what's going on here. Alright, can you hear me all? Someone just stick in the chat. Can you? Oh yeah, good. Hello, Tajay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, I had it turned on for a while and I was checking it all, making sure it's got the focus about right. And of course it dies after half an hour, doesn't it? I'm even in sync. Wow, that's cool. So, I'm probably going to hang on for just a couple of minutes. And just to give people a chance to the latecomers to come in. But today or tonight, you have to excuse me. My family's been pretty ill the last. We had one of these stomach bugs, really nasty one, and I'm not going to go into details. But my little boy had it first, and then my wife and I both got it. I only literally today just started getting over it. So if I look a bit rough, I think it's just because if I look a bit rough, I just look a bit rough. But yeah, so. I mean, there was thoughts about not doing this stream, but no, I kind of perked up around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Actually started eating as well, again, which is nice. I haven't eaten anything for the last couple of days. So, what I'm going to do today is I've got a video that some of you may have already seen. It's about a half hour. It's going through the whole business with the cases. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the video on in a second, and if you've got any questions as we go along, and I'm going to answer in the chat. Alright, so if there's any questions on it, and then afterwards I'll go through them again once it's finished. But what I do actually want to do is I do want to do. Now, I did say to everyone that last week that I was going to. I'm doing a special price on the Amiga ITX. Okay, basically complete system, keyboard, mouse, gamepad, Amiga ITX, deluxe pack case, all white, only white, not black, and all the software. So everything for $399, and it's now live on the site. So just as this stream is sponsored by me. Okay, so. If you go to my site and you click on assuming you're interested, you might not be interested. Assuming this interests you, then go to my site and then go to case packs, and that'll bring you up to here. Click on this. Now I've got a fair bit of information in it. I've already sold a couple, so there's not 20. But I'm going to put this information live probably tomorrow. So it's giving you guys a chance if you do want one, because I know 2 or 3 people last stream showed a bit of an interest. So the idea is I've got about 18 of these Amiga ITXs, and I could do with kind of selling them, to be honest. Not much use sitting there, so I'm kind of obviously selling the boards at a loss, but no, I've just dropped the price of the pack basically. But the idea is to shift some stock, because bottom line is I could do with a bit of cash, because this monitor project's cost me quite a bit of money. So good reason to kind of move these out. So it is a great pack. In fact, if I get out of the way, it's that machine there. Okay. But yeah, it does come with the deluxe pack of the case, no cut downs. The Amiga, but it comes with the Amiga Forever 9, and it also comes with the ready to go SD card. Please back it up first as well. It comes with the OS 3.1.4. Don't ask about 2, because that deal's gone now. And I also include a PS2 keyboard and mouse. Even though it's USB, it's a long story. I won't go into here, but I think I have already. But it comes with the USB interface, and they work great. And one of my 200 watt power supplies. So it's a complete system. All you need to add is a monitor. So it's a good packet, and at like $399, right? I think it's an absolute. But that's $399 excluding VAT. Okay, but I think at that price it's probably a little bit of a bargain for what you're getting. Especially though you can't get D10 Nanos, and D10 Nanos are going over £200 now. So yeah, this is if you think of this as being a mist, which it is, it's technically it's mini mig. Okay, this is a mini mig in a great form factor in a nice case. So that's enough of the advert. Sponsors, as I said, sponsored by myself. Hello Vazzy, how are you? So I'm going to play this video now. Have a watch of this, ask questions. I will be keeping an eye on the chat, but I'll answer in the chat, and then after the video. Now it's half-hour long, this video, but it's worth watching because it goes into to the problems I've had with the monitor and the board, and I mean the story's evolved even more since then. So this is an interesting journey, much more than the other one. So anyway, I'm going to put this on. And then once it's finished, we'll come back and we'll carry on, okay? Okay, so this video is really going to show you for those that are interested, my thought process. You probably disagree with my thought process, but I have to come to a conclusion myself to make this product viable for me as a product. So I'm going to show you all the things that I've kind of been bashing my head with. Now, let me zoom out so you can see. Here's the board. Now, this is not this controller board is not perfect by any means, as you're going to find out. But it is actually pretty good, mainly because of the functionality it has with the AV inputs, but also the fact it has internal connectors. Which is as if I'm going to assume you understand how the monitors work in now, multiple boards. So you need internal connections, and so I've got a number of internal connections for HDMI, VGA, component, etc. So it's perfect for that, and there's not many boards like that. However, it's not perfect, it's not a magic bullet, and that's what I'm going to go through now. So first, so you can see the board. Now, what I've got at the moment is I've got this connected. Let me zoom back out. You're not going to see the board very much on this. Let's try and get this in. Right, there we go. Right. So I've got this connected by a composite. In fact, let me zoom in so you can see the quality. It is surprising, the quality, just literally putting a composite. Now this is one of the plus points. Just literally sticking composite into this card gives really good, because what it does is it stabilizes, takes the flicker out of it, and it actually looks pretty amazing on these displays. And I think I've got the 17, the 19. They're both equivalent panels. But I mean, if you didn't know, you'd probably think that was maybe Super VHS. I mean, I know because I'm looking at them all the time, but maybe it's just my eyesight. But the quality is really good, and if I run something like Demons of Forever. It's not perfect, but it's composite. I mean, that's the crucial thing we've got to think about here. I've got no sound on this. I'm not connected to the speakers. But as you can see, let me move this cable out of the way, because you see a number of cables here. It's running nice and smooth. The colours are vibrant. And the quality, especially for composite, is very good. So I'm actually quite pleased with that. And remember, it is a flat panel. Right, so that's... Now, of course, anything with composite output will go into that, and I've tried it with my BBC Micro, my Spectrum, a couple of others, 600, and they all look great. They give, as long as it gives a good composite output, your sound. So, from a basic point of view, if you've got a composite output, this is going to work great, which is brilliant. However, the reason that attracted me to this, and this is where now it's going to take over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off. Now, what I have is this little board here, okay? Let's see if we can get it to come off, focus. That's better. This little board from, I think it's from either France or Canada, forgive me. I will post details on this, but it's a little, all it is an RGB to component, in case you didn't realise. Are you gonna, You know, it's because the screen's behind it. The autofocus should... It's picking up the screen as the big... Here we go. You can see it's got a component there. Right? And that goes into the back of the Amiga. Now, component was always the bit I was interested because it's pretty close to RGB. I mean, it's obviously not, but it's pretty damn close. And a lot of products support it. So what I do is I take that, and the other end, you have to excuse my wiring. If you're an electronics engineer, please don't laugh at my wiring or my test rig. I have loads of these boards, so if I do damage one, I'm not worried about it. Right, so here's my blue one, and yes, I know they could touch, but right, I'll keep them apart. Right, now if I switch this into component, now this is where you get the good. This is the good news, bad news story. Okay. Now, basically, their component input, like an awful lot of them on these panels, will not accept a non-interlaced display. As soon as it sees an interlaced display, or progressive display, basically the two fields, it will happily put it up. But then you look at the quality on this thing. Okay, so now, if you're running the Amiga in high-res interlace or low-res interlace, either will do. It looks absolutely fantastic, but as soon as you try and do anything like a demo that is 240p, 288, and don't turn this off just because I've said it won't do it, right? You're missing the point of this video, right? So you see, it loses it, and so the board, and I have spoken to them at length, and it's not something they can support because it's in the chip that they use. And then I've contacted other suppliers. No one's actually got them. Now I'm sure they do exist, but I haven't managed to find one yet, and I will always be on the hunt for it. But at the moment, so composite, no problem at all. Component, if you have an interlace signal, fantastic. I mean, literally, I am just so impressed with the quality of this. It's just ridiculous. I absolutely love it. And it does a great job. It's really good quality. So yeah, it's absolutely amazing. So, the board out of the gate, obviously you get HDMI. So that can do anything. So you've got HDMI, you've got RGB. Now RGB, obviously the other thing with RGB on this, or sorry, the VGA input on this, is that it's only going to work, obviously, with 31 kilohertz or higher. Okay, it's not going to be able to do 15 kilohertz. But as I've just said, that if you put a composite in with a 15 kilohertz signal, it's perfect and it stabilizes and looks great. I will at some stage. I'll do some latency tests, and I think the latency is okay. I don't think there's much latency on it, but I will probably run some tests on that later on. But at the moment, it's more about getting the signals working and to see what's possible. So the latency is an issue for later on, but it doesn't seem to be any issues. I mean, it feels correct, so we'll have to see. I mean, I know it's not going to be instantaneous, but we'll see how that goes. Right, so that's that part. Now what I want to do now, so my plan with this was always, the idea is to have a base board that will, so if you're coming in from a Mister, right, if you've got a Mister system, you haven't got wire, you just plug it into HDMI or the VGA and you get a great signal. Okay, so you've got no issues there at all, and this is a great panel for that because it's nice and bright, it's IPS. So let's see if I can do this without disturbing things too much. If I turn it round, yeah, you can see it's great all the way around. There's no problems with looking at angles. It's a bright, vibrant panel. Now this is not the final choice, but this is kind of the two front runners. But at the moment, I'm more concerned about sorting out the functionality of the controllers. Right. So now that's the base board. There is more here, but I want to kind of move on and show you the way my brain's thinking. So, this part is, I thought I'd order a product. In fact, there's a company called Bitfunks, and they make a couple of amazing little products. One of them is these. Now, what I'm going to show you is Right, I think it's something that needs. I think there's something not quite right, and you're going to see. One is the retro scaler. Now, my initial plan was I was going to, because of what this does, it just literally should. It gives me that turns the non-interlaced display into an interlaced display, which is what I need it to do, and it just doubles the scaling. And it works. It works absolutely fine. But it's just something to do with the brightness. It seems to over blow the brightness. So I'm not 100% sure quite what's going on with this, but I'm going to show you. And I'm also this because one of the reasons for doing this is to send this to the people, the guys who make this, and to see if they can figure it out. Because ideally, I'd like to use this. The idea was to pretty much put this in every one, but you'll see the reason why not. At this point in time, you'll see why not. Right. Now what we're doing, we're coming through this little board called the retro scaler. And as you can see, the YPBI is turned on. I've got 2x scaling turned on. We can flick through the different modes to change things. Now the problem we've got is that I'm having is this. Can you see the brightness? Everything is completely blown, overly bright. Now I don't know whether it's the little board that's coming out the back of the Amiga that maybe is giving a bit more signal than it's used to, but it works perfectly going into the main board. But for some reason the brightness is too bright. The quality is amazing. I mean, it's absolutely amazing, and this is it's very disappointing. I'm hoping it could be just something wrong with this board, but let me see if I get if I run this demo. See now, it's automatically adjusted. It's doing it 720. It's scaled because this is non-interlaced now. So my plan was always, okay, I thought, well, what I can do is, because I know that board is brilliant with interlace, as long as it's got a full frame, both fields, it could do great work with it. But the problem is, I think this little board here is boosting the brightness or the contrast or something, but it's just too burnt. It's a bit too bright, basically. It's not neutral. So I'm hoping it's something that they can go, I know what that is, and we can address it, because my aim was well, they were very, very helpful and would be interested in this project. So about making a board potentially that will have all the ports on the back, all the ports that need to be on the back to be on the back, because this has component input, Super VHS input, and a composite, etc., and audio. Everything going through is perfect, right? If we can just sort out the fact that it's so bright. But that brightness, I've tried adjusting it in the settings, but you shouldn't have to, because it's just literally, it's like it's burned out. Hopefully you're seeing this on the screen. Yeah, I pretty much think you are seeing this. I can read it, but it is very, very burnt out. So that's where I am with this board. I'm hoping we can sort something out with this, because this is, to me, the perfect board. I'm very happy with the quality. I mean, I'm really happy with the quality. I've got no issues at all with the quality of the display, the way it's working. Now, of course, at the moment, it's kind of ignoring it. If I go back into the demo, it automatically realizes that it's it automatically realizes what's in there, and it switches it, and so it doubles the scale, and it adjusts accordingly. So I'm really pleased with that. And of course you've got the smoothing options, which actually the smoothing options are quite interesting, because if you can turn them off, that's 2x. And see, now I don't know if you can notice that it's smoothed all the edges. And now I know a lot of people out there will hate that, but I actually really like it. I think it does a really good job of smoothing. So this to me was almost the perfect board. Yeah, it's mildly disappointing. For those who wanted to know 50 Hertz, yeah, you should be able to see it on the display at the bottom. Right, you can see it says 50 Hertz, just for those who are asking, because it's coming out 50. It automatically changes to see. This is almost the perfect board for me to include in every single monitor, which was the way I was going. And if we can resolve these issues, I'm pretty confident this will be the standard board, okay? But as you can see, because it's addressing the small issue of the fact that this board here won't take non-interlace, and this will fix the problem. If I can get the brightness, or I don't know if it's brightness or contrast or a mixture of everything or the blue, call it what you like, it's just too much in your face, too bright. But if I can get that fixed with this board and adapted, I'm pretty confident this will be the one we'll put in every single monitor. However, there is a plan B. Right, so what's the plan B? Let me just kill this. The plan B is one of these. Now the same company make these. In fact, they made this, and so we've had good discussions. And I'm pretty much going to make this a feature of the monitor. Period. And if you've got one, I don't know whether you'd want to actually put yours inside, because you might want to leave it externally. But the idea would be to have one built in, and have it at an attractive price. So have it actually in the monitor. Right. The reason for this is if I take that same composite input, and as he looks around for the connections, here we go. That's not it. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Stupid me. Right. You have to kind of twist it that way, right? So now, there you can see it's on. It's in 60 hertz at the moment because it's just defaulting. Let me put this on here so I don't lose it. And we'll turn on the Amiga. Right, so we'll turn on the Amiga. Oh, I've got to switch it over, haven't I? Right, let me just switch this over to YPBS. Now, as you can see, it picks up all the modes, right? And bang, you've got an absolutely stunning picture interlaced. But now remember, this is going in HDMI, but it's flickering. Okay, it's important to note that. This is what I mean, the roller coaster ride. But look at this. Look how wonderful this is. You can see 576, 50 hertz at the bottom. Absolutely rock solid, perfect device. And I always planned for you to be able to put an OSSC in the monitor. My hope was to hopefully be able to maybe get a custom version. But at the moment, this will go straight in, just literally out the box. Now I know it's expensive. Some people are going to go, "Oh, that's expensive." But now this is where I'm having the confusion is really, because this was going to be almost like create a complete solution, okay, that would suit pretty much just about everyone if I put this in the monitor. And obviously this is a lot cheaper than the OSSC, because that brightness means at the moment I can't use this. But that doesn't. I think it's something in the mix that's going awry, and something maybe just needs to be adjusted. So that it's neutral, so it doesn't affect the brightness or anything. And it could just be me being an idiot, but there's no settings on here for changing the brightness, and it have to. So it's obviously brightening the signal as it goes through, and it's making it too bright because what's coming out the back of the Amiga on that little adapter board is really good. But when you put that straight in, it's perfect. So, hopefully we can get this bit fixed. Now, if, for example, we can't get this fixed, if this can be fixed because of the price they've offered it to me, I'll just put it in a standard, okay? If it's perfect quality, I'll just put it in every single monitor, right? Even now, I can pretty much say that because having components, Super VHS, composite, the audio, everything on here, turned to face at the back, and then going in through the HDMI port, from the internal HDMI port, it's a no-brainer, okay? And that will give most people what they want in this monitor, and I think everyone will be pretty much happy with it. Now, having said that, if it's not that and it can't be addressed, because obviously I'm doing this on the Amiga, it may be different on other signals. It might just be the Amiga's got a very strong signal, and this can't, and this is just boosting it. I don't know, but it should, in my thoughts, it shouldn't boost any signals. It should just keep them flat if possible. But so yeah, I'm hoping we can address this, because I really feel that this could be really useful. The quality, as I said, was absolutely stunning, and it's got all the ports we need, and I really like it. In an ideal world, this would spit back out as component and then go into my component circuitry. Although that may introduce latency, see? So maybe we won't do that. We'll just go HDMI into the HDMI, and then you're not, because apparently this does not add any latency, which I find really impressive. So the next thing is, okay, so as I mentioned a minute ago, and now the OSSC is definitely going to be part of the package, but there's no way I'm going to put it in as a standard part, simply because a lot of people with like Misters and plug-in PCs or plug in something in that works okay, like they don't need the extra cost of that, and not having this would actually make the monitor even cheaper. So it may be that I just go, okay, I've already showed you the limitations of what the controller board can do. It may be a case of that I just make that kind of call on it. They go, okay, we'll go basic with it and upgrade it. So you add these as an upgrade, you know, for whatever they're going to cost, and the suppliers hope maybe can do them themselves. And we'll have plus, you know, like I always do with the extras packs. So that's where we are now. Now let's get back to this. Now, one of the things is the good thing about having, if you go for the more, you know, the full meat system, okay. This obviously being in it was always been part of the calculation to me. This was always going to go in it. That's why the pods are in the back of the monitor. So one of them will take one of these OSSCs in any guise. But of course, for an Amiga, now of course I'm biased towards the Amiga. Now this probably may not be an issue on other platforms. You may not care, so it'll just look right. But I've got this flicker which is doing my head in. But what I found is by playing with it, and what I need to do is shut it down and actually go in via the VGA connector. So let me just turn that off. I'll just show you, because I want you to, I don't even know if you can make out the flickering actually, but it's got the flickering, so just take my word for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out these connectors, and I'm going to go in with one of these that goes into the back of the Amiga. Oh, that's turned off, that's all right. Okay, so we'll plug that in there, and then, okay, let's turn it back on. So now I've got that's the VGA connector plugged in. So that's now RGB, not component. Okay, now I need to switch it over to one of these. See that one? Let's let boot first. There you go, it's starting. Right, so as you can see, it's now running interlace mode, okay, and it's flickering, and remember it's going for the VGA, it's going into the B and process, and it's coming out the HDMI and going into the HDMI over here. So so it works, and it's obviously now this is RGB, so the signal's going to be even better than composite, and, you know, and it's absolutely spot on. Okay, as you can see, 50 Hertz, and it looks fantastic. It does a fantastic job. So how you want to connect it is completely up to you. Let's kill that. But what I want to do is show you on the flicker. Now on the side of the flickering, I know that in theory that the OSSC can de-interlace, but it doesn't do such a great job of it. But if you're going to be using it for games, you know, the interlace is still part of the thing, isn't it? So we're not going to worry about that. And I don't want to put any extra, you know, frame shift or anything like that in there. But if you're using it for an Amiga, like with a display like this, and you're not running in high resolution, if you're running high resolution, you just go straight in one of the, like a graphics card, you just go straight into the VGA. What I want to do now, go to prefs, screen mode. Now what I've got in here, as I showed you before, but of course I had the wrong lead plugged in, 960 double scan. Right, okay. So this is a multi-scan mode. So I just press test. Okay. Okay, so there you go, that's okay. Now, the display obviously doesn't fill the whole screen. Right, I'm going to use it. I'm not saving it, but I'll use that. Now, okay, yes, it's all over the place because I need to adjust it. And we need to play with the modes. The only reason I'm showing you this here, so what we do is we drop that down there. See, now it's in the right place. and we'll say use, because I don't want to save anything here. My point is, it's very important to understand what I'm trying to say is that if you go in there and you're using it with an Amiga, you can use a screen mode. If you want it, if you run it in an interlace mode, which is a flickering mode, on the HDMI, you're getting it raw, okay, with no flicker fixing, okay. But if you was to run the Amiga's display, if you remember a little while ago, I had it running through the component input, and it was running interlace in PAL, and the card itself stabilized it. The problem with that is, if you then went into something like Demons, which then switched into a non-interlaced mode, etc., etc., it would not display it. Whereas with this, with the OSSC, bang, it's got it. So it's got you covered if you want it, all across the board. So this will be the more advanced version that we'll put in there, and I'm hoping it's going to be cheaper than if you went out and bought an OSSC. But it depends where you buy them. But again, I'll do it so you can add it in, because it'll be it's more than likely going to be the standard version that goes in there. We may do a custom version, because obviously one of the problems is if you're putting it internal, this may not work unless there's a jumper on there which I can put an IR at the front. You won't be able to see this little panel, because it'll be inside the monitor, behind the panel. So there's little issues like that still to look into and address. But I think for ultimate flexibility, this in the monitor, the OSSC in the monitor, which you can then, I'll obviously do tutorials on how to set things up, because you can notice that it's 644/80, so it's kind of, it's not filling the whole panel. I've got it set, have I got it set to auto scale? Actually, let me just have a quick look. Yeah, it's set to auto, so I've got it set to auto scale, so it's actually done the best job it can. But I might be able to do a little bit better on that. Let me just have a look. Let me see if we can actually fill that display. 4:3, no. 16:9, no. God, it's amazing quality. I know I'm biased here, but just scan panorama. No, okay, yeah, that's fine. So point to point, yeah, look at that. So that's just taking all the pixels and just putting them up perfectly. No, auto was spot on anyway. Oh, let's go away. Right. So yeah, I'm to be honest, I think this is going to be absolutely brilliant with the OSSC. But I think for most, look, the way I look at it is, if you want to keep costs down, this board will do it. But if you want to play things that are non-interlace, you'll have to go through the composite. But as you saw, right, we'll skip back to the beginning. You'll see the composite display was actually bloody good on this. So you don't really need this. If you're an Amiga user and you do want to play games, just run it in the composite. If you want to run Workbench, you can plug both in at the same time and just switch between them, which is one of the great things. In fact, let me turn this off and I'll put it back to the way if you're an Amiga fan. Right, now, if you're an Amiga user and you want to do this on the cheap, oh, hang on, it's trying to focus in on the, right, let's put it on here. It's probably, I've done that too slow. I've got this connected from the Amiga. It's going in both composite and component. Yeah, I think that looks alright, doesn't it? Yeah, so it's going into by both. Hang on, let's turn it around now. Okay, and so I've got it at the moment, so everything works. Now it's going in the composite. Now this is if you want the cheap option, right? If you're going to go for the case, the base version of the case, unless we fix this, then again it's not an issue, because if this gets sorted out so that it doesn't overblow the signals. No, I'm not saying that's what it's doing, but it's whatever it's doing that's making everything so bright, then you won't have this issue, okay? Because I still want to put this. I really like this. I did try contacting one of the other guys, but the other company's about another product. But let's just say I don't think he took me seriously. Right. So we've got that. So if we come out of there now, you've got that. If I now switch this into component mode, voila, perfect signal. Flicker fixed. It's just a standard interlace signal, but the built-in circuitry stabilizes it, makes it look amazing, and it really is good. But unfortunately, as I said, the downside is it doesn't do non-interlace, which is an absolute pain in the butt. But as you can see, I mean, hopefully you can pick this up. Hopefully you can see this, but it's lovely quality. I mean, it really is great. I mean, I would have loved using this back in the old days. Let's load up something on here. Now, this will be where it gets interesting. So I'm going to make this like high res. Right. In fact, no, I'll put it to laced. Okay. So if you're in interlace mode, you see everything's hunky-dory. Now, but remember, look, the OSSC, the advanced version, solves all these problems. But I'm trying to make it so you can use it if you get the cheap version, okay? So you don't have to spend an absolute fortune. Okay, that's my plan here. So everyone can get something out of this monitor. And if I switch over, yes, yeah, it all looks great. However, if I bring that to the front, excuse me. And then I go to here and I go to my program. What program? I want to load up a low resolution picture. Okay. Pictures. Venus. Now I'm going to change it. Now this is a 320 by 200. Okay, and I'm going to say yes. Watch what happens. The display's gone. However, if I switch over to B and C, there it is. Yeah, no problem whatsoever. And it even looks good. Yeah, so I could do that. Click over, bring it to the front. Bring it to the front. It still looks good, but when you go back into B and C mode, the component mode, again, look, I know there's going to be some people out jumping up and down, freaking out totally, but you have to understand, who uses non-interlaced displays? You know what I mean? You get it, from the chip maker's point of view, why would they do that? And I completely understand it. So, but what I can do is I can get that and I can do this, assuming I've clicked in the right place. There you go. So I'm switching back. So now, because I've got an interlaced display here, right, then you can see everything with the Amiga. Okay, and on the components. So if you keep your displays in interlace mode, you don't need this expensive board, which is going to add, it's going to add at least £100 to the price, right? So you don't need that. And again, this is just going to improve things if we can find out what the issue is. So that's the headache I'm facing at the moment. Is from a retro console, I don't think it shouldn't make any difference. Just plug it in the composite and away you go. Composite's fine. Everything I've plugged in, composite works great and it looks great. Again, I will be testing latency. But it's this little thing that's a bit disappointing in that it doesn't handle. And it was, people did mention this, and because obviously once I got everything set up and I started testing it, then I realised it can't handle it's not the case of it can't handle 240 and 288. It's it can't handle non-interlaced displays. It's just the chip on board, when you've got component, it's only accepting interlaced displays, not non-interlaced. Whereas the composite can do both. So it's kind of, if you understand, the limitation of that chip, and how to get around it by switching to composite, switch to composite, then you don't have to worry. You can continue using it absolutely fine. And I'm looking into potential auto switching. So if there's only one signal, as soon as only one signal on, then it auto switches to the signal that's on. So that should automate. You wouldn't have to be pressing all the buttons, and a few other little tricks. So that's where I am at the moment with the bare board. The bare board, because obviously just putting the bare board in keeps the cost down, because a lot of money's going into the panels, and obviously the case, a huge amount, because of the cost of the manufacturer. That's a small run system. So a lot of the cost is going to go into the case and the manufacture and having a high quality panel, but the controller is obviously very important. This is at the moment, this is the best controller that I've found. Let me just turn it around that way. It's the best controller that I've found, and I still do like it a lot. But it's got that one little thing that the component won't do, non-interlaced. But let's go back to component, because we're on composite. I mean, I've got to be honest, that looks really good to me. And because it's not flickering, You know, I'd actually be happy with that. I'm not saying you know you should settle, but then just switch to component mode and it's as sharp as RGB. I mean, it's just like, it's a bit, in a way it's a bit like having an RTG system that you don't have for Amiga graphics. Basically what you're saying is you've got Amiga graphics but you don't have non-interlace mode. You have to switch to composite for that. Or you spend the extra money and all your problems go away, and we put one of these in. And that is going to be the option. It's always planned right from the beginning to be able to put an OSSC in it. But it's quite an expensive upgrade. So, you know, I just want you to be aware, and that's where everything is on this project. It's not open source by any means, but by showing you everything to give you hopefully an understanding of where the design and what I'm trying to achieve with this. But ultimately, you will be able to put one of them in. Whether you want to put it inside is another thing, because obviously you may, if you've got one of these, you might want to use it across multiple monitors. But I will make it so that you can power. I'm thinking on fly here. But if you put it inside the case, you can only use it only in that monitor. But that might suit you, might be fine, because that's maybe all you want to do. But if you've got multiple systems, multiple monitors, that might not suit you. But I do think from an Amiga owner's perspective, right, from a classic perspective, I've said this about 8 times now, but if you're just going in composite, the basic controller, spot on. No problem with it whatsoever. I'm very happy with it. If you want to step up your game, go component, then you can only have interlace displays, because of the chip that's built onto this board only handles component interlace. Obviously you've got RGB, HDMI, and you've got all the other bits in there. But I'm still happy to board because of the internal connections and the quality, and I'm blown away by the quality. I mean, it's also got a lot to do with the panel, but there you go, basically. All right, okay. So I hope that was of interest, and you can see the kind of the roller coaster ride I'm having as I've been going along on this. I hold out a huge amount of hopes. This may, as I said, if we can, technically, this solves all my issues and makes that perfect. Yeah, I mean, it literally does. If we can sort out this, make this a neutral display and not have it blow the display up, you know, brightness and the contrast, whatever it's doing, overloading the display. If we can resolve that, then this is perfect. And I've already kind of got the inclination that they'll build me a board with these and them on the back, so I can just literally have it next to the other controller. If I've got one here, let me see. Yeah, so basically, let's see if I can grab one. It hasn't got wires in it. Yeah. So basically, you'd have all them, and you'd have these on the top of it, and so it basically doubles up your port selections, and allows you to really get the best out of it. But we just got to sort out that, you know, the overblown display. Anyway, hope that was useful, and I'll speak to you soon. Right. Okay, so I'm back. So I'm just answering questions here and I forgot that it was ending. No. Right, so I don't know how many of you have seen these pictures. You probably have. These here are the 3D manufactured. They're 3D printed, but by not like your normal home 3D printer. These are a massive professional machine, and they actually come out like they're injection molded. So I think I can hear myself. Hang on, you don't want the echo. There we go. These are done so I can show people them, even though they're not injection molded yet, but it looks like it is. They look like they're finished parts. I mean, they are that good. Unfortunately, with this print they got it wrong, and they didn't put the the model had 2 parts basically. It was meant to be printed as one, which one was the temporary solid stand. But it wasn't. They forgot to print it, and it didn't come in with it. So this one's being reprinted at the moment. So it's a little bit delayed on that. But so you can see there's the back, and then here's a side shot. But these are the important ones, to be honest. Um, this is the bezel for the 19-inch bezel. So if you put a 19-inch panel, you've got a slightly smaller bezel. If you want to put a 17-inch panel, you get a bigger, fatter bezel, and that's what's creating that. If you look at the picture in the beginning, that's what's creating more of the retro look. And on this prototype, there is no flippy down door. It's very rough. Just going to screw the controller in there, because the idea of this is really for me to build it, because there's a metal frame. In fact, I'll show you this. As you can see, it's quite rough. It's sprayed externally, but it's not sprayed internally. But you can see, so this is not the final design. This is not the final look. It's going to actually change a fair bit, but it seems to be that people are quite liking this look. So I'm going to kind of enhance it and give it a bit of a drop-down chin underneath with the door, if I have a door, and then like little panels, so you can pop out a thing and put in custom panels. Maybe for like LCDs, you know, like the OSSC. If I do a custom board, or we can make that LCD panel on a lead, we can mount that on the front. Those kind of things. So there's a lot of work to be done on the design, but this was really for me to build a unit that I can play with, because you know, it's all very well looking on the design on the 3D builder, but actually having it in front of you, you can really get to. Yeah, I know Amiga logo. Yeah, you can stick. There'll be somewhere you can put logos on. I'm not worried about that. But this is for me to practice and just see how well it works. See where any physical side of things, and also then I can show it to people. And of course, every time I show someone, so this is a prototype. It won't look like it will look better than this when it's finished. But it's a starting point. And it does accelerate things, because when you've got, it's accelerated me because I'm preparing for when all this arrives. So it's there was a complete lull when I first was talking about this, while I was doing the Kickstarter. Well, interesting. You're saying you have to source your own logo, though. Do you know what the interesting thing is? I'm liking using the Checkmate brand. So, because Paul put the thing, if you notice on the picture, he put Checkmate on the brand. The on-off switch will be on the front, and it's going to be the Amiga 3000 button. I'm pretty confident I want to do that. A lot of people mentioned it, and I kind of thought, yeah, do you know, because I want it to look good with my case. So the idea is that probably the same button we'll use with that, because I think it'll actually look good. But again, there'll be a second prototype, and then that'll be the one I'll use, because I can't really use this for the Kickstarter, because Kickstarter are quite funny about this. So you have to have pretty much finished product. So I'm going to do probably a second prototype with all the changes once I've got all the electronics sorted out. But yeah, so that to me, I think the look is coming on nice. Let's go back to here. Oh, the camera's turned itself off again. There's a surprise. An embossed metal sticker. No, do you know what? I think the embossed stickers look a little bit garish. I don't like those ones that people do with that. I like the idea of screen print. If I'm going to do something like that, I'll probably put it on the lid, you know, the little drop down lid, because you can take that away and get it put into a machine. Probably screen printed if we do that. But again, we've got to figure out what we're doing with this. Right, so I think that covers it. Right, now let's cover an interesting subject, because this is going to come up, and I have to be careful what I say here, but there is a question of intellectual property issues with this. I know I'm not going to talk about it much because I'll be on, recorded, but there is concerns about intellectual property ownership, and I've been speaking to the guy who has intellectual property, and trying to resolve it, because I've tried to talk him into making a version of his board for me, but he can't do that. But I've tried offering like a licensing thing, but then he's not interested. He doesn't want to do that because it's kind of saying that this is okay. It's really difficult. So this is causing me a problem at the moment. Well, apart from the fact it don't work, but I know they'll fix it. But they are working on a board for me. They're gonna do the change. They're gonna make some changes for me. But there's this whole. It's a mess. It really is a mess. And I'm gonna have to work my way through it. It could just be I just have to drop it and then just concentrate on the OSSC. But yeah, so anyway, is there any questions? Let me see if there's any questions here that I can go through. Custom controller board. Oh, okay. Would it be beyond? Would it be on the project do a custom controller board and then break out the required for cost a few? Yeah, the problem. Yeah, the problem with doing a custom controller board is that you're still limited by the chip, and the companies that make this board, right, which is a fantastic board. The people who make this board, I think I can get closer there, can't I? They do a whole load, and they specialise in these boards. That's pretty much all they do. And why I like it so much, and why I'm forgiving it the non-interlace business, is because all these internal. Let's look on this camera here. All these internal connectors along here means I can, because I've got a pod system where everything's internal. You can plug internally, so you see what I mean. So it's internal, and so when you put in something like if I can get hold of it, a Raspberry Pi into it, it's going to connect internally. So it's got that, and plus the fact the scaling of on the component, I mean, it was amazing the way it scaled that Amiga output and put it full screen. I know the non-interlace is a pain, but I even was looking at if it's possible to find a way to be able to put something in that will trick it into turning it into interlace, but it's not as simple as that. As I said, I'm not an engineer. Right. Right, Griffin. This is not a RetroTink. One of my patrons is very kindly sending me a RetroTink, but that, unfortunately, after discussion with Mike, he hasn't got time to help me, which is really frustrating because I was going to buy like 1,000 boards, which he didn't seem to think was that many. So he hasn't got time to help me, and so I'm kind of right. Well, I'm just kind of left in the lurch. I'm not blaming him, obviously, but this is available, but it's of dubious. But to me, to me, all it's doing is just taking a signal and doubling it and outputting it as an interlace to me. So I'm in a tricky situation. There's no problem, obviously, with the OSSC, but with that is right. So that is not a RetroTink one. Yeah, so it's important to understand that's not RetroTink. The RetroTink, right? Again, this is not RetroTink. It's kind of a clone. To be very friendly, it's a clone. RetroTink people don't see it that way, obviously. RetroTink is proprietary. Yeah, it's not open source, so I can't do anything with it. The fact that the OSSC is open source means theoretically, if I could get someone to do it, because I know what I want. I just want that. Did not bring it down, actually. No, I don't look like board down. In an ideal world, all I want is the ports on the OSSC moved around, and the infrared to be able to put at the front on a lead, and also the LCD to be able to put on a lead and put to the front, and then it would be perfect. And because I can get them for like $85, which is quite a lot of money, but to put that inside, you know, it makes it relative. I paid £144 for mine, but I've now noticed you can get them, you know, like quite a bit cheaper. But that solves all problems. So I'm, you know, but it's just frustrating that this won't do non-interlace on component. But as I said, if you stick it in composite, it's fantastic. Oh, I know. No, hey, someone knew this. Oh, hang on. If only someone in this chat knew some talented board designer. Well, there's two. There's Edu that could probably do this, but there's also Neil's friend. So you know, I'm open to discussion. But the reality is that, you know, one of the things because I've already talked to him, not about doing it, but I've talked to him generally, and I said once I get to a certain point, then I will go and see him and we'll discuss my findings, and if he can help, fantastic. Yeah, Hebrew, exactly. Yeah, we'll discuss it because the OSSC is open source and can take the design and do a custom board. It's the trouble is whether you can get the cost down. I would think so, because you can't. It's hard to compete against China. But yeah, we'll have to see about that. But then you're gonna have component issues, getting components, which you're gonna have anyway. So it's a bit frustrating at the moment, but I agree with you. The OSSC. I mean, I you know, but the only really, I know it's not a fault of the board, but what was really frustrating is I plugged the OSSC in it, plugged it into the HDMI, and it was flickering. Oh, for God's sake! You know, and now because it bypassed the interlace. The de-interlace of the board, whereas the component went in and it was de-interlaced, and it looks amazing, stable. It really is brilliant, best Amiga display I've seen. Whereas the OSSC, this is what I mean, this roller coaster. You get one thing, you kind of shoot down, have a great, and then you uphill again. That's why I called it the roller coaster video. But it's, but I, you know, I'll get there. You know, that's why I said on one of the videos. I said, please watch it to the end. When you see the first problem, don't go running screaming for the hills. But all I'm trying to do here is, because by sharing this information, I can find out what's important to people. You know, what is really important to people. Everyone says, 15 kilohertz. What do you mean? You want the panel to run at 15 kilohertz? Good luck with that. They're few and far between, and the only ones that I've seen are rubbish panels. But the reality is, you know, going in component, it's 15 kilohertz. It just corrects it. It's, you know, so the 15 kilohertz is a little bit of a. I know, yeah, people want it, but but it's just go and buy one, because the trouble is I have to be careful, balance, cost, functionality, looks, and everything, and it is a serious balancing act. What else should I mention? Oh, I don't know. I don't know how many of you seen this. Ignore the great big long cable. But this is my Pi mount board. If I put it on there, you can see it. The idea of this is, now this will be a smaller connector that will go into the side here. But the idea of this is so you can put it inside any of my cases. So if you've got an Amiga in there, like a Plus, got an Amiga motherboard in there, you can stick this in there as well, so you can have a Pi as well, and then we'll expand on that to do that software and so on. So yeah, the prototypes are working beautifully, and they're off being painted at the moment. Might actually be able to get around to use Alistair's software, which would be quite nice. Right, has anyone got any more questions? Because I'll probably I might well call it a day and come back another time. Any questions? Any more bets? You can see all my computers going. Can you see my 3000? So right over the back there I got my 1000, the one that's flickering like mad, and there's my 3000. No, no, I don't believe Edu. No, if you're meaning this is serious expertise. It's not really something he can do, because it's just not going to work. it's a big job. It's a specialist job because you have to know the panels and control. It's I'm not saying he can't do it. It's a big job. The pie mount. You know, this is, I don't know. I'll probably rip you all off for about a tenner for this, but I don't. Well, first of all, I'll release the design like I did with the Mystic. I'll probably release the design if people want to 3D print it, because you could 3D print it as long as you put a bit more strength on the corner. You could 3D print it, but you know they cost a little. They're not very expensive to make, but the killer for me is, you know, I can sell it for a tenner and the shipping's 12 quid to the UK. I mean, my shipping's not particularly the cheapest because the way I'm not set up to send out cheap bits. That is the problem. What is this Vark? What is Vark.tech? I've no idea. Is this spam? Am I missing something? It's got it in there. Vark.tech. Is that spam? Because two people have put that in there. I don't know what that is. It's probably linked to something. Yeah, the software. I mean, look, the software. The software's been available for a long time, and I did put out a message asking people if there was someone else who wants to take it on, and because I haven't got time or the expertise to take on this software that was created by Alistair. Annoyingly, I mean, I kept us my bargain. I said, "Can you write? I'll give you a case." Should I remove them? If them two are spam, should I remove them? Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So can you sell the mount and the software? Well, I'm not selling the software. I mean, well, technically, if you buy the mount, because the software was always to be open source. Now, by open source, what do I mean by that? Anyone who wants it can have it, and then the source code. The source code I'll make available to anyone who asks for source code. I'll give it to you. Ideally, I'd like it to be probably the best thing is to stick it in GitHub somewhere. But the trouble is, I just don't have time. And Alistair's just really busy, and it's too much. He did what I asked him to do. He wrote this thing. It's only fair that, but I just don't have time to play with it. And I know I'm a coder, but we'll have to see about it. But if anyone wants it, I can just give them. Yeah. But it's not. I tried to compile it on my Linux card in my 2000. I didn't compile, but it was set to compile for the Pi 4. So, is there any more questions? Because then I'll just go down. Because I'm actually feeling a lot better. Actually, now I felt rotten earlier. 1 o'clock, I was. You don't want details, but I was not doing too well. I suppose the key thing is I'm going to have a monitor out of this. As before, I'll have this hopefully this really cool monitor with an OSSC in it, and it will just be, I'll be going. I'll be going. I wish I'd done the bendy stand. But just to give you an example, this prototype is costing me about £1,200 with the metal work and all the other bits. About £1,200 to £1,500. Is S-Video going to be part of the final, or are you still considering? Well, I mean, look. Well, here's the thing. If I can get through the problems I explained about this, they've been very helpful. I will say, I know that allegedly they are, because again I've got to be careful what I say, because but apparently they've taken certain IP from another company, to make this, right? The company that made the IP don't want to help for their own reasons, maybe probably good reasons, I don't know. But these guys are bending over backwards to help, because they're even talking about doing a custom version of this, because I need all these ports on the back and I need all these ports in the middle. I also want this to go, instead of going out to HDMI, I want this to go out component, because that's perfect for me. So a component in, a component onto my board, spot on. But even Super VHS or composite and then component onto my board, because of what this board does with component. So it's a tricky one, and this has S-video on it. But I'll give you another example. The Archimedes won't run on this, but if you've got an OSSC, I just plugged it in and it worked, which is quite interesting. I know people have been talking about the X1000. I'm not sure, but I would think the OSSC may solve that problem. But you know, but I wouldn't call it a world of pain, because it's fun. It's just, you know, you get to a certain point, you think, oh, that's absolutely fantastic, and then something kicks you in the teeth. You go, oh. It's like I had this going, I was really excited, and it turned up early as well. It took about a week to get here, and I plugged it in, and there was that brightness problem. Oh, God. And then someone pointed out, because I did the video, someone pointed out that the intellectual IP issue. Oh, God. And then, you know, I offered to pay a fee to the intellectual holder, but wasn't interested. So I don't know. It's tricky, but I will get through it. The key thing, I will get to Kickstarter. Whether people want to jump on board, whether it'll end up being too expensive, I don't know. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. This it's accused. You put accused of nicking IP. I mean, look, it's an interesting point. If Mike had basically, because I offered him 10%, I said, look, I'll give you 10%. I'll give you some money for doing it, and on ongoing, like a license, a separate license, he'll get, you know, a cut. But and I understand his point totally, but it doesn't help me. You know. And to be honest, I mean, look, no disrespect, but it's all the functionality I want. All it is simple. It's, yeah, a scan line comes in, duplicate it on the next scan line, put 2. You know what I mean, and then put that out. It's not not particularly rocket science. Now all the other stuff, yeah, fair, whatever, but it's. But you know, companies will be shut down for far less. No, it's not really piracy. It's potentially intellectual property theft. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So it's just a complication. I don't know. And no, Chris, I am not saying I'm doing it. I'm just saying this is a position I'm in. So I've got to wait and see what happens. I'm hoping I'm going to resolve it, because I can't, you know, the bottom line, if I can't resolve something about being able to use this, I'll just go down the OSSC route and just have to blow it out. But yeah, look, I agree. I think the OSSC is the route to go anyway. But the trouble is the cost, and what I wanted was something that I could put in every monitor, and give the basics, and then you can add in the OSSC. But I can't get into legal issues, and I'm not doing that, you know. And if I can't do anything to solve that, then it may well be just the OSSC. That's why I said roller coaster ride, because you think you've got it, and then it all, you know, all goes pear shaped. But there you go. Right, any more questions? Well, look, Jim, if you're interested, if it's HDMI, look, HDMI. You don't. That's the point, you see. I want to do basically a standard version, but I know exactly what will happen. I'm going to do a standard version, which is literally just this board and the case, and then people will say, "Oh, what if I can't run 240p?" Yeah, I know. But it's. I'm trying to find a solution to that, but there's no better one. I'm not. Okay, Chris. Let's be blunt. I'm not pissing on Mike G. Okay. I've said, is there a way we can do this, which is financially good for him. But if he and I'm not criticising him, if it's not, then he won't help me make the board, and this other company will. But I don't want to get into any kind of dilemma, so don't even think that I'm doing something. If I go along and later on you see me and I bring out a product, right, and it's there, feel free to say that, but not now. Yeah, but yeah, so as it stands at the moment, you know, I've got to resolve what we're gonna do, how we're gonna work this. But at the end of the day, I'll do something that doesn't upset people, Chris. Because that's not the way I do things. Anyone who knows me knows I don't do that. But just trying to see if I can get a good result for people. But anyway, there you go. That's it. Any more questions? I've pretty much answered it all. Custom FPGA control board. No, if you can do that, you just take the OSSC. The OSSC is actually perfect apart from the cost. If I can make it and it was not as expensive, but I'm guessing the FPGA on it is part of the price. It's a tricky one. But because they are not cheap, you know. And I'm already, you know, I've got to be careful on the cost of the monitors. It is. I don't want to be overly expensive, because then you defeat the object. But you want to give a certain functionality. If this had done 240p, you know, like 288 non-interlace, I'd have been over the moon, because it would have been not a problem, and people can just plug in their OSSC and I'll make a kit so you can fit it internally. Was 15 kHz big in Europe, or did I miss it here in Canada growing up? I'm curious because people keep asking for it. Do you know, I'm going to probably upset people here, but the 15 kHz, like that monitor over there, ruined my eyesight. And that's the thing, it's because they're used to, you know, TV and so they're used to what it used to run. And yes, I get that things look nice on a CRT. Most CRTs are really small. I don't mind a big size. It's small. Normally, I just don't like those size CRTs. And you can see it you see it flickering. Can you see it flashing on this? It's not on that one. It's nice to stabilise on the little camera, but on the main video feed, you can see it's flickering like crazy. So I'm not a massive fan of 15 kHz, but I have to try and help them. But I don't understand the issue. This takes a 15 kHz signal, stabilise it, makes it look great. Now, people have to make their own decision on whether they like the look of the display, and that's purely up to them. But I hate flickering. I bloody hate it. A custom board, reduce the options to cover the majority of people, keep the retro look, keep the nice panel, keep the pod design. Yeah, I know, I absolutely will. It's this is the reason for doing this thing. I'm not really doing this in public. I'm not really doing this in public. I'm just, well, look, Repo Man, composite. Perfect. It looks fantastic. Going through this card, 240p, 288p. in composite. Most of them are going to have composite. Not all. Most of them are going to have. In fact, I've actually ordered an Nintendo. Sorry, I've ordered an in. I can't say. I've ordered an N64 because we used to have one many years ago, and I've ordered an N64, and I'm going to plug it in, see what it looks like, and I'll do a video of that. And I think what I'll do is I'll take some of mine up in the loft, and I'll plug them in, and then try and set the camera up so you get a better view of it. Just literally using this, right? But just the composite. If you go in composite, it's fine. It works perfectly. Now, my only thing is lag. As far as the speed of the displays, very quick. I haven't got the figures to quote the refresh times, but it's pretty quick. So I don't think there's a lot. There will be lag, obviously, because it's going for circuitry, stabilising it. So there may be a frame, but that's going to look really good. And that's just with this board as standard. That's my point, you see, because for most people with old computers and old games consoles, composite is fine, and it looks great. You know, it even stabilises. As I said, if you plug an Amiga into it with an Internet, so a higher resolution display, it stabilises it, makes it look good. I'm not saying it looks RGB, obviously not, but it looks really good. And I mean, if you go back into that video and then go back where I switched between composite and component, you do see a difference, but it's not huge. No, the OSSC can't be a stretch goal because it's not something I can't do that. Not that if I reach a stretch goal, I include it because it's bloody expensive. So it will be an optional extra, or fit your own, because the kit I'll make will be based on getting a standard OSSC, a fitting kit with a couple of cables to mount on the back and connect it internally. So it's I don't need stretch goal for that. Now I may be stretch goal, maybe include the fitting kit for it, make life easier. But definitely I can't do a stretch goal to include it. Sorry. Yeah, the pod design is a winner. Yeah, I know, but I haven't even. Well, no, I have mentioned actually. One of the things you'll notice is 3 pods, 3 of them. Obviously, one for this. The second one for the OSSC, and the third one for a computer. Yeah, it's frustrating with this because I really like this board. Look, I'm going. All right. Any more questions? Because I'm going to go. Right, no more questions. Okay, guys, look, I'm going to do this probably again next week. Oh, okay, off topic. I want a button that won't turn on and stay on and won't run off. Oh, God, I can't help you with that. Oh. Yeah, I can't help you with that. You're going to have to get someone to have a look at it. Yeah, fat stand. No, it's true. Yeah, because when I well, actually, if you look at the model, actually, I think the circle bit can't go much thicker. Can't go much wider. So, but the base was quite small. But that's temporary. That's just a temporary one for this prototype. So, I wouldn't even worry about it. Okay, all right. I'll see you guys later. See you next week. Give me a shout. Oh, by the way, Chris, if you're still online, I'm not going to turn over Mike. No way. I have no intention of upsetting Mike because it doesn't make any sense for me to do that. If I can resolve the problem, or then that'd be great. That's what I'm trying to do. See if there's a way of resolving it so I can do it. But that would be the ultimate way. But anyway, look, I'm going to go. So I'm going to speak to you all soon. Thanks all for joining. See you next Monday. And don't forget, if you're interested in Amiga, the link's going to go live tomorrow through all the Facebook channels. So if you want one, jump in. All right, thanks so much.